Thank you for joining me for another wow moment, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. I was unpacking a series of thoughts, one being, or a series of phrases, if you will, one being, it's not good for man to be alone. We're better together than we are apart. There's safety in numbers. I know that when Jesus sent them out, he sent them two by two. In fact, it's a mandate by God that speaks and says that we're not to forsake the fellowship of one to the other or one another. But I'm thinking about isolation. I know my sister friend, Alicia, says all the time, a lot of the things she didn't want to carry out, she said because she knew when God called her, he was calling her to separation and that it was lonely. And I'm here to tell you, or to attest, to unpack with you, that I believe that there's a difference between loneliness, being alone, and isolation. And if we can unpack successfully what the difference is, then that's key and fundamental to our mental well-being and possibly to the things that inspire and motivate us to action. I've been thinking about that, and I just thought that if I unpack this moment with you guys, that it would be good for all of us. You know, things grow in isolation. Depending on where you are in life and what you're unpacking, that can either be a positive or a negative statement, but things grow in isolation. You can grow strong mentally and physically. They have, to what I'm understanding from my brothers and my sons and a little bit from my husband, they have training camps, you know, for the sports people, where they set them off and set them apart from everyone else, and they train. That's not to make them weak, but to build them up, to make them stronger, to make them a better use. So there are points in our life, I believe, that when we're called to isolation, to be alone, not to hurt us, but because it's a part of the plan to strengthen and to build us. I'm trying, guys, to, stay out of those hidden spots. We're on our way now. I was waiting for my sister friend, who I called over an hour ago, but I guess things didn't pan out the way that we intended, but they always pan out the way that God intends for them to pan out. Anyway, back to unpacking. I'm going to get some equipment. That's what I was going to say to you guys, to better serve me when I'm having conversations and doing these videos with you. In any event, so many blind spots. Either it's too bright or it's too dark, but, we're going to let God just guide this thing. And I appreciate y'all guys joining me in the conversation. Alone. Being called to be alone. Isolated. Like right now, I just darted in a back street. It's pretty quiet. Pretty empty. But something positive is happening in this alone moment, in this isolation moment. Something very positive from my perspective is happening. I'm unpacking, and I'm unpacking in hopes of empowering, inspiring, and motivating and challenging a way of thought. Alone is not necessarily bad in and of itself. Isolation is not necessarily a bad or negative thing in and of itself. It depends on where you are in life and if you're and where you're unpacking. If you're in a volatile situation or suffer from depression or mental health issues, isolation, being alone, may not be the best thing for you. In fact, it's proven that it's not. If you're suffering from child abuse or trauma, isolation and being alone is often proven to be fatal to your well-being. So in that case, isolation and being alone is not a good thing. This pandemic, the forced stay-at-home order for the protection of all has not necessarily protected everyone. In fact, it has been a preying ground for predators. Unpack that one. Oftentimes, there are things set up that was meant to harm you that God would make good for you. And then there are things that people, either intentionally or not intentionally, will set in motion that may cause harm, hurt, or injury that can be turned around. These are all things that can be done alone and in isolation. From a negative standpoint, remember, I want to pin both sides of that. Because I've been alone and isolated in my youth, but it was domestic issues going on, childhood traumas going on. But in this season, in my 50 plus, when I've been called to be isolated and alone and being more calculated with my time and how it's spent, it's been all good and all positive. This conversation with you is case in point at that. Well, this has been another wow moment. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please, wherever you are in life, continue to have them. They're worth having. Until next time, take care.